So first of all, talk about, I just see you walking through the hallways, just singing your songs. It sounded like your music that you're actually singing as you're going through. Is that just part of...
I was singing my song?
You're just kind of like little bits and pieces as you're coming through.
My song? Oh no, which one?
It's sounding familiar. I know the album so well, I recognize something, but just talk about the...
What I was singing? No, I'm always singing. I'm not aware of it. People tell me all the time. You're just saying, really? No way. You know what else I'll do? I'll sing songs that explain how I'm feeling at the moment. Like if I'm maybe if there's a cute guy or something, I'll start singing some song about like some R&B song with lyrics pertaining to this sentiment. It's really embarrassing because it's so unconscious for me. It's just weird.
You've always done that?
Yeah, I did it the other day too. This woman was talking about her kids, a makeup lady was talking about her kids, and she's married, she loves her husband, and then 5 seconds later I was like, gonna be before the rest of your life, na na na. She's like, what song are you singing? And anyway, so an example there. I get busted.
Right. When did that kind of stuff turn into wanting to do something professionally? If you're doing that kind of thing your whole life and you're just singing, when did you know you have what it takes to turn this into something more than that?
I just always knew I had something that would connect with people since I was 4. And I walked out on the stage with my mother and we sang a duet in Portuguese for the Portuguese festival for about 300 people. And I knew immediately that I loved connecting with an audience, and I loved the way I was making people feel through my voice. And I knew that one day I'd be performing for thousands. Now, the evolution of my creativity and how I write and how I express myself, that's always changing. And it's always different because I write prose, I write lyrics, I write music, I love being around instruments. It's all a combination of craft and instinct and spirituality, and it all comes crashing together and kind of has something to do with when I make records. It all influences me and inspires me somehow. See, as a kid, I played several instruments. I kind of got into music really young. I was always in choir, Portuguese folk dancing, musical theater. I played ukulele when I was 9, singing these Portuguese songs at festivals and singing English. Then I started playing the trombone when I was 12. I did jazz band, marching band, concert band. So I have this real sort of solid musical education. And that helps me now when I'm dealing with arrangement, rehearsing with my band, doing production, working in the studio on vocal parts, things like this. I'm always learning. But then the passion and the writing comes from some other very mystical place I can't quite explain or describe. It's always been in me since I was a child. I would always make up songs and express myself through song, through lyric and melody, making up stuff all the time. When I was 14, I guess 12 is when I sort of started to kind of really get connected with the scene. I started getting into urban music, started writing rhymes and writing songs and hanging out with the MCs and the DJs.
You talk about that, where that came from and how that kind of meshed with what you had already grown up with. Where did that...
It just popped out of nowhere, really, because I guess I'm a part of that generation where, hip-hop's always been around for me and Generation Y, 80 million strong, so it's kind of changed the way we look at music and walk and talk and think. So there was a small hip-hop scene in Victoria, so hey, being musically inclined, I guess it was they were the only musicians in the city, so it was I found them. It was yay, cool, creative people, MCs, DJs, fun. So all my friends, they either danced or choreographed or maybe did graffiti. And then I had my walls plastered with posters of Salt and Peppa and LL Cool J and Ice-T and Crisscross and things like that. Mary J, Boyz II Men, listened to the Far Side, a lot of the indie sort of West Coast hip-hop scene that was happening at the time. Very positive and creative. So writing rhymes, and out of that evolved, I did my first studio session when I was 16, doing backup vocals for a hip-hop group, which were based in Toronto, even though I'm from Victoria. So when I was done high school, because I had some music connections in Toronto, because I had some family there, I moved over there. And at the time I was getting more into English stuff, the cool trip-hop stuff, Portishead, Tricky, and I moved over there and I started a trip-hop group, and it was called Nell Star. And Nell Star is my alias. It's my alter ego. I have the solemn singer, Neil Young style singer-songwriter side, and then there's the street kid. This is the little urban kid, the MC that kind of likes to just show up at a studio and bust something out on the microphone, freestyling.
What's the image you like to get across? Is it a mesh of all those things, or do you like people to see? Do you think about that constantly, or is that not part of your...
Well, it's always evolving, because from there I started doing electronic music, drum and bass, house, ambient, always doing vocals. I just love being around music. I love being around keyboards. I love being around samplers, everything. I don't look at it that way. I see it more like I have ammunition. I see it more like, even like recently, like discovering Brazilian music like 3-4 years ago, which pretty much inspired the record. I was like, let's make a pop record, but I want to use my Portuguese heritage and I'll incorporate Brazilian sounds, and just kind of like, yeah, it was like a light bulb went off. But basically, I lost my train of thought.
The album, though,
I know what did you just ask?
Just the image you're trying to get across.
Oh, the image of the record. Well, I feel the record is international hip hop record because it's not. It's a pop record, but it has roots to it, and the roots are, I think, it's kind of about rediscovering your roots, because it's about me kind of going, this is who I am as like a Portuguese Canadian girl. I'm an international girl, and this is what I listen to, and this is what I want to express, and also coming to terms with like, yeah, I'm a child of all those urban influences. Wow, here's my urban pop influences too, and this is who I am as well, and it's coming together on a pop record. Mm-hmm. It's eclectic. It's pop music for the new millennium. It's future pop music. It's representative of, again, of my generation, really, of what we're listening to, what we grew up listening to. 90s influences. It's the sound of the product of 90s influences, which we haven't seen yet.
No, because I remember playing this the first time like 6 months ago, listening to the whole album all the way through. It was like, wow, there was nothing like this. So, like, it really did mix all that, but you don't think about it mixing these things. It just really just kind of hits you, and it was done so well. Did you know when you're making that you're doing something special and new? And
yeah, myself and my co-producers, Track and Field, Gerald Eaton and Brian West, from the moment the three of us stepped into a studio and did my demo tape, I knew we could make something phenomenal together, and we knew, because we had kind of that eye of the tiger mentality. We were in Toronto, kind of in Brian's bedroom studio, real small, and we knew we were making something special. The moment I wrote Hey Man, too, when I was 18 years old, I knew that there was something in me that could connect on a really larger level, that there was something very positive that I was emoting, through my music. And that's helped me as well with the essence of the record. I think people are getting this kind of West Coast spiritualism from the record, as West Coast mysticism, which is very much, that's who I am. I think I read in one magazine, they kind of nailed it. I think it was Entertainment Weekly, that said, sports free, borderline dippy free spirit at a rave image. Which is kind of true. I'm that free spirit.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that song. You think that you cried against like ambivalence, I guess, in that song? What that song
don't want ambivalence.
What you're trying to say there with that. Is that like what do you want people to get from that? Because lots of young people are listening to your music.
Yeah, they are. It's great. I feel so happy that I'm sort of that young people are connecting with my music, because I think it's a musically educational record, and I think it's about music. Actually, on my website even, I want to start including real making of the record information. I want to highlight the instruments. The instruments are the stars of this record. There's over 25 session players. There's everything from Brazilian berimbau to Portuguese guitar, or like classic fado instrument, to really amazing turntable scratching, authentic scratching, and it's all very real. The influences are very real. Lyrically, I'm, because this record documents my transition from a teenager to an adult, I think I hide behind a lot of uncertainty in a lot of the songs. I have a lot of metaphors, and it's very kind of punk-ass and kind of confrontational and confused, like a lot of it, which is so sweet. And I think I can look back on it and go, oh wow, this is like a diary. It's like a diary of that transition, and that's why I think people connect to it as well. It just documents a lot of the duality. I think there's always a duality going on. Like Turn Off the Light is kind of about that struggle between, wanting to be an independent woman of the new millennium, 90s, and wanting, on the other hand, just wanting to love somebody, and wanting to be loved. And it's not a real experience. I kind of wrote that song as I hit my head on the pillow one night, got up and wrote it. So, ambivalence, it's just, the record is also about truth, because me and, Track and Field even, my producers, like, we sat down and we were so true to ourselves, and we didn't give, we didn't care what anybody was going to say about the music we were making, because we knew we were being true to ourselves. And that's what the song On the Radio is about, number 2 on my album. It's about, regardless of fashion or trend or whatever's going on, or facades, it's about kind of just staying true to your own musical identity at the end of the day. And I feel that's what I represent. That's what the record, it represents individuality. And I think that's what people are getting. And that's what I'm getting every night when I see my fans. I see diversity. I see people from all different cultures, all different ages, shapes, sizes, creeds, identities. It's truly amazing. So
there's so much confidence on the album. Granted, there's a reality, and then there's the soft side and that kind of thing. But there's so much confidence in the music and in the lyrics. Tell me where that comes from in you. Is that just confidence in your own talent, or are you just a confident person? Because every track just kind of just comes out of you that way, and you get that feel that this is someone who knows what they're doing. This album's gonna be great. You were doing that before this album, even a song was a hit, So where
right, okay, I see what you mean. Oh, I see, like on the radio. That song is very confident. There's an earnestness about it. Yeah, there's an earnestness in the lyrics. I don't know where that frankness comes. I think it comes from experience of writing, because I've been writing for so long. Like, I'm 22, but I've been writing for 10 years. This was the first time I sat down and said, hey Mom, I'm gonna write a song. I was 12. And before that I was writing. Since I was a kid, I always knew that I had an ability to express myself and kind of see something for what it was and kind of express my picture of it. It's almost like a photograph. You have your lens and you take a snapshot of something, and then you're expressing something, your space. That's kind of, it's hard to explain the way I write and the way I approach things that way. It's very MC-like, it's very beat poet-like. Like, I really relate to, like, Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg and those beat writers. I don't know, sometimes I feel like a modern beat artist because I just kind of travel and take in cultures and get very inspired by it. Like, I'm really into the idea of poetry in moments. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's where the confidence comes from. Just a belief in moments, belief in probably like a deep spirituality too. I think it helps. And my background, just like coming from this solid working class kind of, my first generation background. My parents are immigrants from another country, coming over to Canada, and just kind of growing up in a really non-materialistic household where what really mattered was the real stuff, craft, being good at what you do, being a good person, and expressing yourself and not being afraid of your creativity.
Mm-hmm. And how does that jive with all the success now and everything that's probably being thrown at you in your life, how it's changed over the last 6 months to a year?
It's funny. I just try to stay grounded all the time. I just try to incorporate my friends and family in as much as I can, as much as I possibly can. And I've sort of developed a tunnel vision now, where in the beginning, I think, I got a little bit more confused, like maybe a couple months ago, where I'm so busy and so bogged down with so much. I was doing a lot of radio promotion, I was traveling in the States, and I was just like getting really intense and like so little time for myself that I kind of lost myself a little bit. But now I'm back on this really great path where I've realized that I have to have a normal life still, or I'm not going to be writing another record. Because I need those everyday experiences, because that's what inspires me. Luckily, being around other musicians and being in a studio where I like to write that way too, luckily. I get inspired by music, and I get inspired by synthesizers and machines and samplers. But other than that, I need everyday life to be inspired. And if you keep focused on your craft, if you keep focused on the recording, arranging, producing, writing, being around musicians, playing your live shows, then you're okay. Because you're focused. You kind of say no to all the glitter and all the fake stuff. And you just keep living your life as it. Nothing really changes. That's the funny thing. It's like your career changes. It's great for your career and your livelihood and like your feeling of progression, as a human being. Because, I get to make world-class music, and I get to make music on a world-class level and scale. So career-wise, it couldn't get any better. But it's not like the Cinderella story, like where like my life is totally changing now, and it's like, wow, I'm all starry-eyed. It's not really like that.
Well, all the acclaim though and the feedback.
I can't be starry-eyed, or else I won't make another record.
When you hear all these wonderful things about you,
total catch-22. It's weird. But pardon?
Well, when people keep saying these wonderful things, you keep hearing these great things about the album, what does that do to you in your head and your psyche after you've been creating this music for so long? What does it mean to keep hearing this? Is it just gratification, or does it change anything in how you feel about what you're doing?
There's nothing like validation. It's nice. And I felt it from the moment I brought my demo tape to America and record companies wanted me to be with them. Like, it was like, there's nothing like that sense of validation. It's real. It's people in the music business, professionals who know a lot about music, like your music, and think it has potential. So it's exciting. I won 4 Juno Awards. that was totally amazing and exciting. It's nice to be validated, especially for songwriting and production and me. Like, we were so excited, and I was so excited to win a songwriting Juno, and it does mean a lot. It doesn't really. Yeah, I see what you're saying. 'Cause sometimes, like, I guess you could give into like pressure, because maybe it is a lot of pressure. I guess when people have a lot of expectations of music. But I don't feel pressure because I'm really confident in what I do, and I'm confident. Like, 'cause I've been writing songs my whole life, and as long as I'm writing good material, because the center of a good album is a good song, then I'm okay.
What about all the other stuff that comes with it, like the photo shoots and magazine covers and like this Roswell thing you're doing?
I'm excited about Roswell because it's like I said, it's like an alternate reality in an alternate reality. It's like pretending to play a show, like on a TV show. It's gonna be so fun. But you have to have fun. You have to have fun with what you're doing. And as long as you see it all as fun and icing on the cake which would be being able to make records, being in the studio and touring and seeing fans in the audience singing every word of your song and being moved by you and connecting emotionally. Mm-hmm. That's the real stuff. Everything else is icing. And it can be fun or it can be work. And it depends how you approach it. As long as you see things for what they are, I'm really into that. And I'm into creating my own reality. And I learn a lot. I'm always learning. I'm always learning about the business. I know a lot about marketing a record. I know a lot about radio promotion. I know a lot about media now. Just from doing this for 6 months, I've learned so much. And it empowers you when you're knowledgeable about your business, when you're knowledgeable about the background of things. It empowers you a lot. It's almost near impossible to get kind of unfocused because you're so in tune to all the unglamorous things about the business. This is not glamorous. There are some things that are very glamorous. Like, I'm doing this Elton John thing, this Oscar party, and that's going to be glamour off the hook. It's going to be it's going to be all glamour, baby. And the Junos were very glamorous and fun. And there's those moments. You can enjoy them. They're special. But they're few and far between.
When you're hanging out in Hollywood, anyone else you look forward to meeting?
Hanging in Hollywood. Yeah, well, see, I wish Jude Law was nominated this year. Darn. All the girls like Jude Law.
Yeah.
There's lots of people who are fun to look at. We'll see. I'm not a big, like, movie buff. I love movies, but I don't get a lot of opportunities to go see movies. I'm not, like, one of those people who are, like, fanatic about certain actors or whatever. Mm-hmm. Jennifer Lopez used to be one of my favorite actresses because she's Latin American, and you just don't see cultural diversity in films and in Hollywood, and that's going to change. I hope it does. That's why I speak so much about my Portuguese heritage. I just think it's so important to talk about your culture, because North America's a multicultural country, and it's, it's time that that's reflected in media and in Hollywood.
When people think Victoria, they think getting tea at the hotel. Right?
Ah, you've been to Victoria, I see. Tea at the Empress, hey?
There you go. Right. No,
well, it's a bit of that, too.
Yeah. Pleasure.